You've lost your home, you've lost your car, you've lost your career, you're losing out on 5 to 7 years of with your children, Christmases, birthdays, 4th of July's, Good morning, my lovelies, my beauties, my friends. My name is Christina and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I really hope that you will subscribe, stick around, take a chance on hearing some things that I have to say. And if you are a returning subscriber, y'all already know, y'all are my babies. So good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everybody doing today? I hope you guys are having a great day. Make sure to let me know how you guys are doing because I love hearing from you guys. So today we are back at it again with part 2 of the Unspoken Prison Rules. If you're new here, hi, my name is Christina. Whenever I was 21 years old, I was sentenced to 3 years prison in the state of Florida. So the things I'm telling you guys, I know from experience. Y'all all really loved that video and was asking me for a part 2 and 3 and 4, and it's crazy how it works in there. It is literally, being inside of prison is like living in a little world of forgotten people. I've said that a million times and it's the truth. When you're in there, life is still going on. You've got, it's literally like a little world. You've got a little store, you've got a church, you've got a library, you've got a chow hall, you've got, microwaves. I get that question all the time. Yes, there are microwaves in the prisons that I was in. And it's literally like a little world in there. You go to work every day, that type of thing. The only thing is, it's not a fun little world, okay? So when I'm telling you guys it's like a little world, it's not fun by any means. And being in prison, there are rules that are within the inmates, between inmate to inmate, that are unspoken rules. They're not written down. There's no prisoner to prisoner handbook, but these are the things that either one, when you get in there, or 2, you find out real quick. So let's get into part 2. I'll leave part 1 linked below. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. Okay, so the first unspoken rule that we're going to be talking about today in this video, part 2, is you do not leave your envelopes lying around within eyesight of people, to or from, unless they're a blank envelope and you don't care. You will see people, if they go up to the window and get mail, hide it. You will see them come sit it on their bed and leave it face down. And you want to know why that is? People will get your family members' addresses and write them or look them up or whatever, especially if you've got a man or a woman, a spouse that's sending you money and they know that they're sending you money. I can't tell you how many times I've seen girls get into arguments or fights because somebody else wrote their man within the prison. You think that can't happen? It not only can happen, it does happen. When you go to prison, you protect your addresses like a hawk. You're protecting your family, and that's what you are doing. So yeah, and if you've got a sugar daddy, baby, anybody that's been in prison, let me know if I'm lying down below. Tell me those girls won't try to steal your sugar daddy's address and start writing him. Start trying to tell him all the sweet type of nothings that they think he wants to hear, so they can try to get that coin about him. Yes, baby, that happens for real. Sure does. All right, so the second rule that we are going to be talking about today is you are not going to be talking about any cases that you've seen on the outs, something that you've read in the paper, or something that you've seen on the news. You do not want to talk about any cases. You want to know why? Because you never know whose friend or family member you are with in prison. Yeah, that's something you may not think about. You may be like, man, I heard about this ding dong guy who robbed this store and tried to speed off. You may be sitting next to his cousin up in there. Okay, you may be getting ready to start a war, or that person may have children with a woman that you're in there with, and maybe she's not sitting next to you. Maybe she's friends with that person, and then she goes and says that she heard you talking about it. So that's something you really don't think about. When you are in prison and you see people breaking the law, or you read a news article, chances are that people around you know those people, because a lot of the times birds of a feather flock together. criminals, to know other criminals. I used to get the newspaper sent to me in there just so I could read the arrest reports to see who I knew who got arrested. Isn't that sad? Back whenever I was, and if you do this, there's no judgment to you, I've been there. But the kind of life that I used to live, when I read the newspaper, the first thing I used to go to, I don't know if they still do this, but they did this back then. The first thing I would go to is the arrest records to see who I knew. Nowadays, if I look at that, I don't really see anybody that I know, because the people that I roll with and stuff now are all pretty much straight edged. They do their thing, which, let's be real, the only people that I really hang out with is my kids and my husband, but you get what I'm saying. So yes, with that rule, you don't want to be talking about no cases when you up in prison. Okay. The third unspoken rule that we're going to talk about today is the old timers. Some people call them old heads. We call them old timers in there. And those are the people that have long sentences. You are always going to respect them, okay? And their presence demands respect. You could be brand new coming into prison, and when you see people that are old timers in there, you can tell who the old timers are. This is their home, okay? This is their actual home. They're not going anywhere, okay? This is where they live. Their beds are set up certain ways. Usually they have different shoes than we have. They've gotten them different ways. If you guys have any questions and want to do a Q&A, by the way, let me know below. I don't want to go off on too many tangents because y'all know how Grandma Christina is. I like to talk. But they have other items that maybe people that have been there 4 or 5 years don't have. Sometimes they have different bowls. Sometimes they have just different stuff. And they carry themselves in a much different way, okay? So you're going to show respect to the old timers when you're in there. Yeah. The fourth unspoken rule that we're going to talk about today, which may be kind of common sense, but common sense ain't always common, is wash your hands when you're in the bathroom and when you leave the bathroom. I know you're going to think, Christina, come on, everybody washes their hands. No, they don't. And if you don't wash your hands, you best believe at the very least, people are going to be gossiping about you and talking about you. That is at the least. I have seen girls get cursed out. I have seen all kinds of stuff about women not washing their hands in the bathroom. Okay, so you may not be a hand washer at home. Maybe it's not a habit that you're in or whatever, but when you go into prison, you're going to learn to wash your hands, because if not, you're going to get chewed out, talked about, gossiped about, cussed out, all this, that, there, and the other, because you got to remember, you are living in the same proximity as other women, okay? And sicknesses spread in there. Diseases spread in there. Staph and MRSA goes around in the prisons that I was in like you would not believe. So people get real crazy and defensive about washing their hands. All right, so the fifth unspoken rule that we're going to be talking about today is don't offer nobody food with your hands. Y'all are going to say, Christina, come on now. We know this. No, literally, if you've made fudge and somebody asks you for a piece, or if you want to give somebody a piece, you don't reach down in there and grab and hand that fudge to them, unless they're like your best friend in there and y'all are close like that, or maybe your girlfriend or your significant other, whatever like that. Don't do that. Please don't do that. I have literally seen, and I can think about this specific moment in my head where this chick was giving another girl, another woman, a piece of fudge, and she reached out and handed it to her, and the woman slapped it out of her hand and cussed her out. You're nasty behind. Please, if you offer somebody food in there, just hand them the bowl, okay? Just give them a spoon and tell them to cut their own piece of burrito off. Don't be handing it to them with your hands, okay, that you've been rubbing your nose with and scratching your butt with. People don't like that in there, okay? The sixth unspoken rule in prison is cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. Now, if you've been watching my videos for a while, you have heard me talk about this before, that I have seen women get in fist fights about people coughing or sneezing and not covering their mouth or their nose or whatever with their hands, and then washing their hands afterwards. Because like I said just a few seconds ago, that diseases and sicknesses and illnesses and colds and flus and all that stuff spreads like wildfire when you're in prison, because you're all in one big dorm, our prisons were open bay dorms. They weren't cells, and there's no air conditioner, and all you've got is a bunch of fans in there blowing your cough and your sneeze around in circles. And we don't want to be sick in there. Ain't nobody making you soup and chicken noodle soup and doctoring you up. You know, there's no hubby or no wife bringing you a nice heating pad or a cold rag on your head, or you can stay in from work and lay around and watch TV all day while you feel better. No, not when you're in prison. When you're in prison, you have to get your butt up and go to work and go rake all day, or go out on the road cruise, or go cook, or whatever you got to do. And nobody wants to be sick. There's no NyQuil making you feel better. There's none of that in there. So if you don't cover your hands when you sneeze or when you cough, you just may get something, okay? You may get something. The seventh unspoken rule that we're going to talk about today is a very serious one. And please, which nobody ever go to prison. Please don't. Do not go into prison complaining about how much time you have left. Yes, this does happen. Every now and then you'll get somebody, you know, like a woman that's green, and you guys know I've explained to you before what green is. Green is somebody that pretty much kind of just doesn't have any street smarts, okay? They could be incredibly brilliant, book smarts, all kinds of degrees, but has no street smarts, so they're not picking up on signals and stuff like that. You know, somebody that maybe did a white collar crime, never been in trouble before a day in their life, you know, and ends up in prison, and they get 5 years, and they're in there crying and boo-hooing and complaining every day about having having 5 whole years. That will get you in trouble in prison, okay? There are women that are going to be in there that's got 30, 40, 50, 60 years, and your little 5 years is a long weekend to them. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear you complaining about having 7 years away from your children. Although to you, it's heartbreaking, right? Like 5 years, you've lost your home, you've lost your car, you've lost your career, you're losing out on 5 to 7 years of with your children, 5 to 7 Christmases, birthdays, you know, 4th of July's, you know, first days of school, last days of school, first boyfriends, first driver's license. You're missing out on all those moments, and that's heartbreaking, and it's devastating to go through. But you got to remember, there's always going to be somebody in there that has twice as long as you, if not 3-4 times as long as you, and they don't appreciate that. And not only can that get you in trouble with them as far as, you know, maybe getting, you know, shunned in there, possibly a fight, but sometimes women like that will be very vindictive, and they'll start a fight with you, or they'll set you up. They'll plant something in your bed or in your locker that's severe contraband. So you go to the hole, and so you lose game time. So you have to stay longer. So don't do that. Come in, just keep your mouth shut and do your time. Don't complain about how much time you have, okay? The eighth unspoken rule that we're going to be talking about today, and I'm sure some of you guys have had this at your workplace or at school, don't come up to somebody in a conversation and say, hey, what y'all talking about? Hey, what's that? What was that? What y'all talking about? Don't do that. People don't like that. People don't like you in their business like that. Y'all know, y'all been at work whispering with your friends, telling a story, and then you got that one person that wants to know everything up there. What y'all saying? Or even your kids. Lord knows my son, my little baby is always asking me and his dad, what are y'all talking about? 9 times out of 10, you know, we'll tell him what we're talking about, but every now and then it's an adult conversation, and I have to tell him, Tootie, this is a mommy and daddy conversation. We're talking about adult things. This is for us to talk about, you know, and so we finish our conversation somewhere else. But in prison, you don't want to do that. And sometimes you may hear something you don't want to hear, and now you've just become an accomplice to something. So mind your business. I've told y'all a million times, just keep it moving, mind your business. Okay, so the 9th unspoken rule that we're going to talk about today, that's inside of prison, is a courtesy flush. What is a courtesy flush? Well, actually, if you guys have watched Jessica Kent, shout out to my girl Jessica Kent here on YouTube. Love her so much. I will leave her channel linked below. She's talked about this before, and I know y'all are going to tear me up in the comments about wasting water, but this is what it is in prison. A courtesy flush, meaning when you go poo, soon as you drop, you flush. As soon as you drop, you flush. Maybe TMI, but y'all know how we do it over here. We keep it 100 at all times. And the reason for that is when you are in the bathrooms in prison, in the prisons that I've been in, and I've heard it like this just about everywhere too. The 2 prisons that I was in, it's just one room with a bunch of toilets, okay? And in between each toilet is a little brick wall that goes up to right about here, okay? It doesn't cover your face, doesn't cover nothing, but you know, you literally talking to the person next to you saying, hey, hand me some toilet paper. You know, y'all can have full-on conversations, eye contact while you're both going poo. So, there's people that are coming in there brushing their teeth or washing their hands or taking showers, and they don't want to smell you, okay, while you sit in there and blow it up for 30 or 45 minutes and read a letter, okay? You need to courtesy flush because you might just get cursed out. Okay, so the 10th unspoken rule about being in prison is do not, please, for the love of God, do not piss off the kitchen staff. I think you can understand why this is a thing. That's basically like going through a drive-through and making the people mad, that's back behind the window, or the people that's making your food, or going to a restaurant and like cursing out the cook or whatever. Y'all have probably heard horror stories, okay? And if you want to know, yes, I have worked in food service. I have personally never done that. I don't care how rude somebody is to me. I just could never do that. But it happens. I mean, you guys have seen news articles of people doing things to people's food. And in prison, it is no different, okay? I've actually had one of y'all just recently leave me a comment. She left me a comment below and said that there was a chick that was always mean to her. So she used to give her the tiniest piece of coffee cake. And y'all know about the coffee cake in prison, okay? The coffee cake can start a riot. The coffee cake is everything in prison. So for her to give her a little tiny piece of coffee cake on coffee cake day, she was giving her one with that. So yes, you do not want to make the kitchen staff mad. Multiple reasons. They can give you little pieces of food, just like that story, or they can do other things to your food that you don't, trust me, you don't want done. The food already looks like slop. If somebody does something nasty to your food, you're not going to be able to tell the difference anyways because it already looks like slop. So trust me, be nice to the kitchen staff. The 11th rule that we're going to talk about today is do not make the canteen worker mad. Yes, you do not want to make the canteen worker mad. There's usually like one canteen worker, and that is her job. That's what she does, is she sits into the little canteen area thingy, the little canteen store. Canteen store, if you guys don't know, is kind of like commissary, or it's like the little store on the compound that you can buy if your family or a loved one or somebody sends you money. You can buy snacks from, like candy bars and chips and stuff like that. And it's only open certain times of the week. But if you make her mad, you come up to that window, boop, she can close it and say, I need to go on break, or I need to go to the bathroom. I've seen her do that before, the one that I was at. This one woman and her got into a beef, and every time she got up to the line up there, boop, got to go to the bathroom. Either one, make her wait a little bit longer, or she can go into the bathroom and act like her stomach's killing her and stay in there until the yard shuts down. So they've got a lot of power in there. They can do different things. They can find out what your favorite snacks are, and when you come up to the window, they can hide all of those and say that they're out, and then sell those same snacks to the person behind you. And then what are you going to do about it? You're going to complain? Okay, well, she can say, I just opened a box, or I just found those. Then you got to go get back in the end of the line and be in line for another 2 hours to get back up there to get that bag of chips that you wanted. So yeah, it happens. And that's another reason why you guys ask me, you say, is male prison worse than female's prison? I don't think it's worse. I think it's different, okay? Male's prison, they're just going to ask you, let's do this, let's throw down, whatever. Women's prison, women think things through, right? Women can be, vindictive sometimes. Men can too be. I'm not saying it's only men, but, women, we typically think 10 steps ahead of the game, right? So it just operates a little bit differently in the women's prison than the men's. All right, so the next unspoken rule about being in prison is don't pick on the weak people, okay? That is not going to gain you any respect in prison, okay? If you're picking on an elderly person, believe it or not, people are going to stand up for the elderly person, and they should. You know, I definitely didn't play none of that. You know, don't be walking by somebody on a walker and bumping them and stuff. No. And that's not typically going to happen. There's just like a certain respect for elderly people unless, ding, unless you have hurt a child or something like that, which there are people in there like that. I've spoke to you guys about that before. If you've done something like that, there is no respect for you. Your time is going to be hard, hard, hard. But, you know, for the majority, maybe, you know, they got in trouble for, you know, whatever little petty thing and they're in there. Or, you know, people that are just honestly really, really, really weak and timid or whatever, you know, you're probably going to get tested. They're probably going to skip you in line, but just to pick on you, you know, you're not going to gain any respect from that. So don't pick on the weak people. It don't make you look cool in the free world or in prison. All right, my friends, I hope that you guys liked this video. Are you guys still into these? Do you want to hear a part 3? Because literally, when I was thinking about these rules, I just spit them out, and I know that I can keep going because that's the way it works in prison with like prison politics and stuff. I've told you guys that, you know, the prisoners pretty much run the compound. I think you're going to hear that from just about anybody that's been in prison, no matter where they're at in the U.S. So like there are these just kind of rules and things that we expect from each other. So if you guys want to hear more, make sure to let me know in the comment section down below. I love you guys so much. Thank y'all for being here. Thank you for believing in me and supporting me and watching my videos. Like I absolutely love doing this, and I love hearing from y'all and reading your comments and talking back and forth with y'all. I just want you guys to know that I just appreciate y'all. So thank you. As always, please don't forget to like this video. It's a free way that you can help your girl out. And until next time, I love you guys so, so, so very much. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye. More than dust. Search, but you stay lost. We are